you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you with another growth MINIsode. This will be a bite-sized episode with the goal of setting a growth-minded intention and focus for the upcoming week. Each MINIsode is going to offer a quote that encapsulates the theme of the week. And after the quote, we're going to dive into a weekly focus, something small that we can concentrate on for the following 7 days. As well as we're going to touch on a physical activity and a nutritional tip that will better assist us in working towards a more healthy and optimal way of living our own dream life. And each MINIsode is going to end with the recommendation for the week. The recommendation could be anything from a podcast, a book, an article, a paper, anything that I think is going to help better educate ourselves toward the overall focus of the week. And if this is your first time listening to a MINIsode, the goal is to listen on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to be ready to start the challenges of the week on Monday. So listen to just one MINIsode every week, and as that week finishes, move on to the next week's MINIsode. I mean, you can start all the way over at MINIsode number 1, or you can join up with the team right now. These MINIsodes will only be as beneficial to you as you're willing to make them. So if you're playing along with the weekly focuses or the physical activity and nutrition tips, it'll help you be much more successful to do this with someone in your life. So grab an accountability buddy and share on your social media platforms the challenges of the week. You never know who is going to be quietly watching and rooting for you, and you never know whose life you will truly inspire just by sharing your journey, both the challenges and the successes. You're going to be far more likely with a support system and a social network to be successful. Get someone that's chasing similar fitness goals as you and do this with them. And as you work on making your life healthier and you motivate your network through your positive actions and your lifestyle choices, the ripple effect, it's unimaginable with who will be touched by you motivating and posting and including others in your journey. So let's dive into this week's Growth MINIsode. This week's quote comes from author Mark Twain. And Mark Twain said, "Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people do that. But the really great people, they make you feel that you too can become great." Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people do that. But the really great people, they make you feel that you too can become great. On these MINIsodes, I always try to have a positive focus. I believe that positivity can overshadow negativity. Light can illuminate dark. But it's important to know that along the way to living your own dream life, you're going to encounter those who are going to doubt you. You're going to encounter those who will talk negatively about you. And I think the kids call these people haters nowadays. Or if they're online haters, I believe the Gen Z calls them trolls. Haters and trolls. Now, one of the evolutionary adaptations that our brain has developed is that we are really, really good at bringing our entire focus to danger. When our ancestors were hunting, gathering, and searching for food, and they heard a rustle in the bush, they could have deciphered that as, oh, that's probably just a bird, nothing to worry about. Or they could decipher that noise as, maybe that's a huge predator waiting to launch its attack on me. Now, the first, if you think it's just a bird in the bush, that's nice. But if you're wrong, then that means death. The second way of thinking about that rustle in the bush with that big predator behind it is definitely catastrophizing. And it puts them on high alert and a hyper-focused in that area. But if they're wrong, at least they stay alive. If they're right, it could be enough time for them to save themselves from the predator. This is what we call a negativity bias. Negativity bias. Back in the day, we had to be pessimists to keep us alive. Now, why do I say that? Well, nowadays, at least here in San Diego and other advanced societal areas, well, we don't have very many life-threatening situations. However, we do have emails from our bosses and comments on our social media posts and many different ways that our peers can offer feedback as to something going on in our own lives. Our brains are also hardwired to want approval from our peers and our network. Back in the day, if our tribe decided that they didn't like what we were doing, we could be outcast into social isolation where it was much more likely that we would die an early death. We are more powerful in numbers, and that's really how it's always been. So when we have haters and trolls commenting negatively on what we're doing, our evolutionary hardwired brains immediately flash, warning, danger. Please put all your attention on this because this could get really bad for us. That's why you get 100 positive comments on something and only one negative or even a slightly negative comment. And that's the only one that you think about. That's the only one that will occupy and worry your mind. Keep away from people who belittle your ambitions. Small people do that. But the really great people, they make you feel that you too can become great. In my opinion, I don't feel like we are ready for what the internet has brought us. We're not ready to have instant access to everything going on in the world at any time. We're not ready to put our lives out there so that every single person in the world can see what we're doing and have them be able to weigh in on what they think is going on and what they have as their opinion in tiny little 40-character short snippet sentences, where body language and tone of voice and all those nonverbal ways of communication cannot be experienced. This is extremely new to us as humans on our big timeline of existence. And this brings to mind a second quote that I heard that really stuck with me. You will never be criticized by someone who is doing more than you. You will only be criticized by someone doing less. Haters gonna hate. That's what they do. Haters are gonna hate. But as long as your intentions are pure, as long as you're chasing your passions, as long as you're trying to contribute positively to this community, then it's my advice to you to block out the haters. It's easier said than done, yes, but it's not impossible. If there's someone online that is always causing your blood to boil and it's affecting you negatively, then there are always ways to mute that person or snooze or unfollow. You should be instead surrounding yourself with people who cheer for you when you succeed, who offer constructive criticism with ideas on how to get you where you want to be, with the intention of making you better rather than negativity with zero direction as to what changes could be made. Surround yourself with people who are crushing life in the areas that you want to excel at. And above all else, do the work to find out what truly means the most to you. What are your passions? What are your ambitions? And what small daily steps and habits need to be done in order to get you closer to those dream goals? And that brings us to this week's weekly focus. This week's weekly focus is to every morning think of the top 2 things that need to be done that day and do them within the first 3 hours of your day. If you complete the most important things first, the rest of your day will tend to be smooth and stress-free. If the project is too big to complete in that amount of time, then just set a timer and dedicate at least 1 hour to it. Just start. Chip away at your big, audacious tasks. You may find that with this strategy, you could be far more likely to eventually complete that task than had you waited for the quote-unquote right time to start your project. And this will help you steer clear of what's called avoidance coping. Avoidance coping. This involves trying to avoid stressors rather than dealing with them. It's a maladaptive form of coping in which a person changes their entire behavior to avoid thinking about or feeling or doing the difficult things. And when you have that huge task that needs to get done, either knowingly or unconsciously, that task is adding potential mental or possible physical stresses into your life. So every morning this week, think of the top 2 things that need to be done. Now, I usually write these things down in a planner the night before so that I'm set up. As soon as I wake up, I do my morning routine and I go right into my tasks. Then do them within the first 3 hours of your day, those 2 biggest things. Chip away at the big tasks if that's what you have to do, or just knock out the tangible ones. And have an awareness of how your daily wins and stress levels change. Moving on to this week's physical activity tip. This one is really important to me. So important that I did a whole 90-minute masterclass episode on this topic. Your feet, your foundation, they have just over 25% of the number of bones in your entire body. You have 26 bones per foot. Your feet have over 30 joints and more than 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments. All of these which work together to provide support, balance, and overall lower body mobility. So much stems from the ground up when it comes to your biomechanics, when you're walking, jogging, or running, your movement. This week's physical activity tip is to work on strengthening your feet. Do some research on how minimalist or barefoot shoes, how they might be able to help you in your journey to making your feet stronger. Most pains or imbalances, they originate from the ground up. Being able to have stronger feet, this will definitely help you to minimize those issues. And I hear it all the time. I have flat feet. I have to wear these cushioned shoes. And if this is you, just think about the types of shoes that you've worn in your life. Have you worn always those big cushioned shoes? And you probably wear them through the majority of your day, and definitely most of the time you spend walking in your shoes. When do you ever ask your feet to grip the ground or to fire the muscles on the bottom of your feet? When do you ask them to do that? When you scrunch up your toes into a fist, does that make your feet cramp? Are you unable to move your big toe independent of your other toes? Unable to play the piano with your toes? Can you play the piano from pinky to big toe and big toe to pinky? Are you unable to spread your toes wide? Well, these are all issues of weak, disconnected feet. If you have pain in your knees, your hips, your low back, these could all stem from weak feet. So I challenge you to check out some of the links in the show notes of this minisode. I'm going to include the masterclass episode we did on why foot health is so important. And then I'm also going to include a few links to foot strengthening videos. And I challenge you to do these for maybe 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week. So if you could do 2 to 3 sessions per week, just 5 minutes of work on each foot or the both feet together, the more you do, obviously, the better the results are going to be. But start slow. The more that you walk barefoot, the more you're going to help build up that arch that are the bottom of your feet muscles. If you do decide to go with a barefoot shoe, I definitely recommend going Vivo Barefoot. The company Vivo Barefoot, V-I-V-O Barefoot, all one word. I've worn them for years. They have some really stylish ones and then ones that are for all types of occasions. But when you wear these, just start slow and don't go right away and run with them right off the bat. Wear them for like 30 minutes while you walk around and then slowly work your way up in duration of time. And then maybe you can add in like a 1/4 mile run here and then later a 1/2 mile run there. Just make sure that when you do wear your barefoot shoes, you also want to make sure you focus on stretching your calf muscles and the front of your shin muscles when you do this as well. It's going to help alleviate some of that growing pains that happen. You've been wearing cushioned shoes and cushioned casts on your feet all of your life, right? So immediately changing that will definitely have detrimental effects if you go too hard too fast. Just as if you had a broken ankle and your foot was casted as soon as you took it off, you decided to run, that would be a bad idea, right? So start slow and gradually progress, just like you do with any other thing that we talk about when it comes to your fitness and your nutrition. Speaking of nutrition, this week's nutrition tip: when you notice that you're eating or snacking and you take another bite before the previous bite has been swallowed, just stop and start to think about why you're eating. Are you present? Are you actually hungry? Are you savoring your food or are you just shoveling it in? Are you appreciating that this food that you're putting in your mouth is going to become you? Are you binge eating? Are you bored eating? Or is this food serving its purpose? So try this. When you're snacking, when you're eating, and you are taking bites before the next bite is even out of your mouth, just stop, take 9 deep breaths, drink some water, and then make a conscious decision if you should continue or not. That food's still going to be there. When you breathe, you help aid in your digestion. You help take yourself down into a parasympathetic rest and digest state. It will also bring an awareness to the moment, and it will help your brain take charge instead of letting the hedonistic, delicious tasting, sometimes addicting behaviors of food lead us unconsciously. So give that a shot. Take 9 deep breaths, drink some water, stop and pause when you find that you're just taking one bite after another and not even swallowing it before you put the next bite in your mouth. And lastly, this week's recommendation is to listen to an episode of The Model Health Show with Sean Stevenson. This is episode number 361, released on July 16th, 2019, and it's called 10 Ways to Upgrade Your Emotional Health. The description of this episode reads, whether you're trying to advance your physical fitness, your career, or relationships, the way you think and operate emotionally will determine your results. If we want to change the course of our lives for the better, we have to learn how to build our emotional intelligence. And on this compilation episode, they're going to cover how to cultivate and improve your emotional intelligence. You'll hear interviews from 10 of the top experts in the realm of emotional wellness. You're going to learn insights and strategies that you can use in order to reach your goals and become the most authentic self. They highlight the importance of building emotional intelligence, how to overcome obstacles like comparison syndrome, and how to build empathy, as well as how to truly channel your own authenticity. Check it out and let me know what you guys think. And that's it, my friends, for this week's Growth MINIsode. Each week, we're going to focus on something new and dial in a different aspect of physical activity and nutrition. Share with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. Post on your social media stories when you knock out your most important tasks first thing of the day. Post a video of you strengthening your feet or taking control of your eating through breath. And make sure you tag me and share your journey. Let me know if you have any suggestions or tips that will help this Live in the Dream team that I can discuss on future episodes. I will be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.